All right, hello everyone. We are now at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our Harvard Summer School webinar today, where we are going to be discussing all things preparing for summer registration. My name is Sean Cleary, and I'm the Assistant Director of Enrollment Services here within the Division of Continuing Education at Harvard. I'm joined today by my colleague Despina, who is going to be co-presenting today's webinar with me. And then off camera, but behind the scenes, helping to answer all of your Q&A questions, we have other representatives of our Enrollment Management Department. We're joined by Peter, Yui, and Lauren. So as you have any questions today, please make sure to drop those in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. I know that a lot of you were posting in the chat as we got started, but we do want to transition all questions over to Q&A from this point forward. We realize that there are a lot of you attending today, so we are going to do our best to answer all the questions that come through the Q&A, but we do realize that given the volume, we may have to have some of you reach out to us afterwards to ask those questions through phone or over email. So at the very end of today's webinar, we'll provide you with all of our contact information for the Office of Enrollment Services to make sure that you get your questions answered. The good news is, though, that we're still a couple weeks out from registration opening, and the summer registration period does run for about 2.5 months. So just know that there's going to be ample time to get in touch with us to make sure that all your questions are answered so that we can ensure that you have a smooth start for the summer term. You may also notice on the top of the slide that we are recording today. So if for some reason you have colleagues who aren't able to join today, or maybe you yourself need to hop off a little bit early, as a registered participant, you will receive an email towards the end of this week or early next week with the recording of today's webinar. After we finish today, we're going to send it off to get closed caption for accessibility purposes, and then we'll share it out with you via email, and we'll also be posting it on the Harvard Summer School YouTube page for more public viewing. So if you do miss a part of it today, or just need to go back and reference pieces, know that it's going to be out there for you to view at any time after today. All right, so now that we've gotten through a couple of the housekeeping items today, I want to present you with today's agenda. We're going to be covering a lot of items over the next hour. We're going to start with just a quick overview of Harvard Summer School, just to kind of break down the different aspects of Harvard Summer School so that you understand which student category is going to be the best fit for you. We're then going to give you an overview of the Office of Enrollment Management. We are the team that really helps you get started with your Harvard Summer School journey. So we're going to be probably the ones you're getting in touch with a lot of your questions leading up to the start of the summer term. We're then going to cover your My DCE student account. This is going to be your source for everything: course registration, pre-registration, paying your tuition bill, accessing your course materials. It's a super valuable tool and something that you're definitely going to be working in a lot. So we're going to show you how to get that set up. And then before we dive into the specifics of course registration and pre-registration, we are going to take some time to cover enrollment policies, information about course prerequisites, and some valuable information for our international students who are joining us today. We'll wrap up today after we talk about registration by going through some important information about financing your education and reviewing our academic calendars for each student type at the summer school. We've also dedicated some time at the very end for some frequently asked questions. We do thank all of you for sending in your questions on our registration form for the webinar. We used all of those responses to take some of the top questions and incorporate it into the FAQs. So we hope that that time will be valuable as well. And then we'll end today by providing you with our contact information for enrollment services so that you know exactly how to reach us going forward. All right, so what you're looking at now is a breakdown of Harvard Summer School. Some of you may already have taken summer school classes in the past, or maybe this is your first time looking into the summer school. So I hope that this breakdown is going to be helpful so that you know exactly which student type you fit into and which courses are applicable to you for the summer term. I want to first start with our adult and college students. So if you are an adult student or you're a college student at another institution and you want to take courses with us to transfer back, you fall into this category. If you are a current undergraduate student at Harvard College, you also fit into this category too. And this category may also include some students who've taken gap years. So if you graduated on or before August 31st, 2021, then you would be in this category as well. Our adult and college students have over 400 courses to choose from. We have our traditional online options, which are the online live web conference, and our on-demand options, which provide a little more flexibility. But we're also super excited to be offering on-campus courses again. Some of you may know that we had to press pause on that due to the pandemic the past 2 years, but we're super excited to be able to have those back in the mix again this summer. You can complete courses for credit or for non-credit. It's always important to look at the course description in our course catalog because it will show you exactly what options are available for each course's credit status. Our classes are expedited in the summer, so you can choose to take 3-week or 7-week courses. And if you're looking to transfer credits back to your home institution, if you're a visiting student, you can definitely do so. A lot of students don't have problems doing that, but I would encourage you to have a conversation with your academic advisor at your home institution first, just to make sure that they review the course description and the syllabus once it's posted to make sure that it will transfer back to your institution. For our high school students who are joining us for today's webinar, we have 2 options for you this summer, the pre-college program and the secondary school program. There are applications required for both of these programs. So unlike our adult and college students who can just go in and sign up without doing an application, high school students do have that application piece. The pre-college program is a residential non-credit program that's designed for our high school students. So as part of this program, you would be living on campus. There is no online option for the program this summer. Whereas our secondary school program is a 4-credit program that's offered in 3 formats. We have residential, which means you'd be living on campus, online, and commuter options. The pre-college program is 2 weeks long, and there are 3 different 2-week sessions offered. And there's also some required mandatory activities that you have to participate in too. You, as an admitted student for pre-college, you could choose to participate in 1, 2, or all 3 sessions, but note that the program fee is per session, so it will be a little bit more expensive as you add additional sessions on. Our secondary school program is a little bit longer. It runs for 7 weeks, and it has optional activities, so you're not going to have to participate in those if you don't want to. In terms of eligibility for the pre-college program, you do have to be a current student in grades 10 through 11, graduating in 2023 or 2024. And the age requirement with this is 16 years old by June 18th, 2022, which is a very strict age policy that we won't be making exceptions to. The secondary school program is similar, the same age requirement, 16 years old by June 18th, but you can be a student in grades 10, 11, or 12. In terms of courses, there's over 90 to choose from for pre-college, and for the secondary school program, over 200. Another important thing to note is that pre-college program students take courses with one another, whereas secondary school program students may be taking courses with a lot of different age ranges. So you may be taking courses with students who are like mid-level executives, higher level executives, kind of from a wide range of different backgrounds. So it won't just be students that are in the secondary school program in the classes. We definitely encourage you to visit our website, summer.harvard.edu, to learn more about the different student types and which one applies to you. And if you'd like to, definitely encourage you to submit a request for information form so that you can stay up to date on all things summer school, especially during the spring while we get ready for the summer term to start later in June. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Despina now to give you an overview of our department.
And welcome, everyone. I'll be talking to you about the Enrollment Management team, and it's comprised of 2 teams, Enrollment Services and Enrollment Requirements. We're here to make your summer as smooth as possible, and what we can help you with in terms of like navigating through all of the information is the course catalog, how to create your student account and log in, course registration, international student requirements, financial information, accessibility services, and other student support services. Now, in terms of your MyDCE account, that's one of the first things that you'll be creating as a new student. Pre-college and secondary school program students who have already submitted an application create a DCE key and a MyDCE account as part of their application. So in terms of what is MyDCE, it basically is a place where you can update your personal profile information. You can complete the pre-registration process each term. You can confirm your course registration status and view your course schedule. You can access the student financial portal to pay your tuition. You can connect to online services to take placement tests and view your official grades. You can request digital transcripts via Parchment. You can upload all your English proficiency, visa, and immunization documents. You can view your student ID numbers. And if you look on the left, you can see what the MyDCE dashboard looks like. You'll basically see your name on the top, followed by your IDs on the right. And then down below, there's a series of tabs starting with course registration and financial services are 2 of the most common that you'll be using. And you'll hear us reference this page throughout today's presentation. Now, in terms of like creating your DCE account, it actually is quite a simple process. All you need to do is select Create a DCE Key on the My DCE login page and enter your information. Your email address and the password that you create here will be your DCE key. So there's no separate credential that's mailed to you. Sometimes there's confusion about that on the part of students. In terms of high school students, your DCE key will be the same login information that you use when creating your program application. What you'll then do as a second step is follow the prompts to verify your email address. An email with a verification link will be sent to the email address that you provided. You click on the link and proceed with your account creation. If you don't see this email for any reason in your inbox, then you will want to definitely check a spam or junk folder. The automated verification email will come from sso@dce.harvard.edu. And just an aside about this, we usually recommend using like a personal email here rather than a work or a school email, because we find sometimes there are spam filters or firewalls that prevent you from receiving the verification. So to avoid frustration, the preference is for a personal email. After you verify your email address, select Login DCE Key and enter in the email address and password that you created above. This will bring you to a series of onboarding pages. They'll ask you to fill out the personal information. You'll go through each page until you get to the final page, and you'll hit Submit at the bottom of it. It will actually ask you to review the information and submit it. Once you're on the My DCE dashboard, you've successfully created your student account. And to finish preparing for registration, you'll complete the pre-registration checklist, which you can access from your My DCE dashboard. So it's as simple as that. And then I'll go in terms of acceptance into the pre-college or secondary school program. If you've gone ahead and accepted your offer, the program team will provide you with more detailed information about logging into My DCE as part of your welcome email for the program. So you definitely want to wait until you've accepted your offer, about 1 hour afterwards, before logging into My DCE for the very first time. And now what I'm going to do is turn over to Sean again to talk about enrollment policies and course prerequisites.
All right, thank you, Jasmina. So before we dive into the specifics of course registration, we definitely want to highlight all of our enrollment policies for students, just to make sure that everything is clear as we head into the start of summer registration in just a few weeks. So the first thing I want to mention is that all of the policies that I'm about to go through are on our website. So you'll see the link here, or you can just go to summer.harvard.edu and search for enrollment policies. Everything will be outlined there in pretty great detail. So we definitely encourage you to take a look if you need to reference these in the future. The first thing I want to touch on is our minimum age policy. I did kind of allude to this when I went over the first couple of slides, but if you are a high school student, make sure that if you're applying to the pre-college program or the secondary school program, that you do meet that new age requirement, which is 16 years old by June 18th, 2022. Again, that's a very strict requirement, so we are going to be not making exceptions to that. That was kind of developed based on age of consent for medical purposes on campus, as well as Massachusetts law with some different COVID policies going on. So we are sticking very strongly to that age policy for our high school students. I also want to mention again that if you're a high school student who's already graduated and maybe you've taken a gap year, maybe 2 gap years as a result of the pandemic, as long as you graduated on or before August 31st of 2021, you can actually bypass the pre-college or SSP programs and go straight into being an adult and college student and registering for courses without an application. Just keep in mind though, you do have to be 18 years or older to be able to register for graduate credit as part of Harvard Summer School. In terms of full and part-time enrollment, as well as maximum enrollments, this is a question that our office here in Enrollment Services gets a lot as we lead up to the start of the summer term. So definitely want to make sure that these policies are clear. In order to be a full-time student at Harvard Summer School, you'll be registered in 8 credits, which typically ends up being about 2 courses. And part-time enrollment is 4 credits, which is typically 1 course. There are different maximum enrollment limits in place though. As part of summer school, we offer 1 7-week session, which spans the entire summer term. And we also offer 2 3-week-long sessions. One is the first half of the summer term. The second happens during the second half of the summer term. So if you're participating in the 7-week session, your maximum enrollment is going to be 8 credits, which is those 2 courses. And if you're participating in one of our 3-week sessions, that maximum enrollment limit is 1 course, which is 4 credits. Something to keep in mind for our international students, though, is that if you are looking to obtain an I-20 so that you can come to campus for on-campus study, you do have to be enrolled full-time for your term. So if you're coming for the 7-week term, you'd have to register for 2 classes, or if you're coming for a 3-week term, you have to be at least registered for 1. Something to note as well for our high school students, specifically those who are participating in the secondary school program, if you're going to be a residential student living on campus, we do require that you register for 8 credits, so 2 courses. But if you're doing the online or commuter option, then the 4 credit, which is 1 course option, is fine there. In terms of time conflicts, you may run into these at some points as you're building your schedule in our course search and registration system. More often than not, the system is going to flag you to let you know that there's a time conflict before you submit your registration so that you can iron that out. But there are some ways to avoid time conflicts. So the only way that you can kind of get around this is if you have, say you have 2 courses on your schedule, 1 course is being offered in our on-campus format, and the other course is being offered in an on-demand format. Because you don't have to log in live to participate in an on-demand course, with those, you're just downloading lectures and watching them on your own time, then that would be okay if those courses overlapped, because you have 1 course that you have to attend in person, but the other one, even if it overlaps, you have the ability to do it on demand. So just be on the lookout for that when you're building your schedule. Make sure that you're checking your course formats, checking the times, and making sure that there aren't any conflicts happening. If there are unresolved time conflicts, there are chances that you might be dropped by our registrar's office because of those time conflicts. And we definitely don't want that to happen to you. So make sure that you pay attention to any alerts that pop up for you in our registration system, and just kind of make note of the course times and dates that you're signing up for. There's also the chance that some courses may be canceled as part of the summer term. This could be due to low enrollment, or it might be due to some unforeseen circumstances that arise. In these cases, you're automatically dropped from any courses that are canceled, and you're provided with 100% tuition refund if you've already paid in full for it. So just know that that's kind of automatically built in. And typically, like, you'll know about the course cancellation in time to choose another course and pay in full for that. So as we continue on in these somewhat unprecedented times, just know that things may pop up, but usually we don't end up canceling too many courses, but just want to call that out just in case. And then again, with transfer credits, just can't emphasize this enough because we do get this question a lot. If you are looking to transfer credits from Harvard Summer School back to the primary institution where you're earning your degree, you can definitely do that in most cases. Just make sure to check in with your academic advisor at your home institution to make sure that the course will transfer back successfully. I'm going to give you a brief overview of prerequisites before I turn it back over to Despina, who's going to talk about some of our major prerequisites. But just a couple things to call out from a general standpoint. Proof of English proficiency is required for every course at Harvard Summer School. So if English is not your native language, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on, then you will have to submit proof of English proficiency before you can do anything. That includes pre-registration and course registration. You may also notice as you're looking at your course descriptions for your desired courses that there may be some prerequisites listed. Some of them are required, which Despina is going to talk a little bit more about soon, but then there's others that are suggested. So proof of meeting the prerequisites is not necessarily required, but the courses that are listed there are just there primarily to give you an idea of the knowledge level that the professor is expecting you to come into the course with. Some courses do require instructor permission, so definitely keep an eye out for those. It's a lower number, but it can happen. Our pre-college and SSP students should note that there are separate course catalogs in our course search system for you. We are going to cover this and show you some screenshots shortly, just so you understand exactly how to filter your courses correctly. But we do want to make sure that all students are looking in the right spot for your available courses. And if you've reviewed everything and you still have like kind of an uneasy feeling, maybe you don't know if you're prepared, you may want to check in and see, you can always review the course syllabus to get a better idea than what's in the course description, or you can contact the instructor directly. You'll be able to find their contact information linked in the course description. I will note though that typically syllabi for courses are posted as we get them from instructors. So come registration day on March 1st, you may see that the syllabus isn't available for your course. That's just because the instructor is probably still working on it, so it may take some time, but you should still be able to click on their contact information within the course catalog system if you need to reach out to them in advance of that posting. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Despina. She's going to tell you a little about some of our major prerequisites, which are the math placement test and our test of critical reading and writing skills.
Thank you, Sean. In terms of the math placement test, it's a self-diagnostic test required or recommended for a number of our math courses that are available during the summer term. If it's required, it will be noted as a prerequisite in the prerequisite section of the course description. When and how can you take it? Well, it's available anytime between February 8th and June 18th, except for 2 to 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time daily. There's no time limit to the test and there's no preparation required. The scores are available immediately once you complete the test. And if you have any questions about the test or any technical issues that come up, you can email support@math-placement.dce.harvard.edu for assistance. And you'll see the link down below is also to the website where it has more information about the math test. One thing that I have also seen over the years is that if an instructor requires this particular test, they may ask you to print out or keep a record of the score before you come to the first class. Now, moving on to the test of critical reading and writing skills, or CRUES. It's basically a required test for all writing intensive courses to assess your reading comprehension and reading skills. If it's required, again, it will be listed in the prerequisites section of the course description. In terms of taking the test, you log into your MyDCE student account. You click on the link to online services on your dashboard, which is found to the left of the calendar on the dashboard. And in online services, you select placement tests and then select take the test of critical reading and writing skills. And you want to make sure that you're in a quiet space, you're uninterrupted, so you can go through the test without any challenges. Now, you want to definitely review the test instructions and click begin test at the bottom of the page when you're ready to get started. And down below, you'll also see there is a YouTube that our enrollment requirements team did concerning the CRUES test, which is very helpful. So if you're not familiar or if you've never taken an online test, we do recommend watching the webinar and reviewing the information on our website. And now I'll turn over to Sean in terms of the English proficiency requirements for international students.
Cool. Before we move on to that section, I do just want to point out a couple more things about the CRUES test. Despina alluded to a little bit of these pieces of information. The CRUES test is required for some courses, so again, make sure you check the course description. We do highly recommend that you go ahead and take the test as soon as possible. If you do have a course that you have your eye on and it requires the CRUES test, you're not going to be able to sign up for that test or that course until you have a passing score on file. We do actually have each test hand graded by a grader here within the division. So it does take maybe 2 to 3 weeks to actually receive your test scores. So we definitely don't want to back you up in delaying how fast you can register for a course. So we want to make sure that you guys are taking the test in enough time to get registered for the courses that you really want to take this summer. The test is 60 minutes long. And basically what you'll be doing is reading a short passage at the top of the test and then answering 5 multiple choice questions about it and writing a brief essay. For our non-native English speakers, you do have to meet the English proficiency requirement for registration first, which we're about to talk about, so stay tuned for that, before you can take the test. It's important to note here that the CRUES test is not an English proficiency test, so I'll go over in just a minute which tests actually do count towards English proficiency. Despina mentioned this, but to avoid any technical difficulties, the browser that we recommend that you use for this test is Google Chrome. We do highly, highly recommend typing your essay response within the test. We have a lot of students who go outside of that and they type their essay in Word. But what will happen is the system that you take the test within does expire after 20 minutes of inactivity. So we do have a lot of students, unfortunately, who try to copy and paste their essays from Word back into the test. but they've been logged out by that point and we have to reset their test for them in order to take it again. So definitely make sure you're typing and completing everything else within the test, and make sure that you are taking the test in a quiet space, that you're not going to be interrupted just because it is on a timed system. If you need any test resources to get ready, if you want to read some practice prompts and do some practice writing, definitely check out Harvard Extension Ready for free lessons on core writing skills. That'll definitely help to get you well prepared for what you'll see on the test. And it's important to note that you can only take the test once for each term. If you do happen to get a not passing score on the test, then you would have to wait to take it again, and that would count towards a future term. So that kind of reemphasizes the importance of having a quiet space. Make sure you don't take the test in the middle of a thunderstorm, things like that, to make sure that it's a smooth process for you. These are our test dates, which you can also find on our website, but I want to highlight 3 major dates. So right now, January 27th through February 10th is the period of time that you can take the cruise test in order to receive your score before we open registration. This means that on March 1st, when registration opens, you'll be ready to go. So if you have that passing cruise test score on file, you can go ahead and sign up for any test or any course that requires the test. Another date to keep in mind is May 5th. That is the last day you can take the test before the payment deadline for the summer term. And the final day that you can take the cruise test for the summer term is June 2nd. Again, though, we recommend that you take it as early as possible so you can go ahead and get it out the way, get registered for your course, pay in full, and be set up for a success for the summer term well in advance of courses starting. So now we're going to pivot over to some information that I hope will be super helpful for all of our international students joining or who watch this recording after the fact. So the first I want to touch on is our English proficiency requirement for registration, which we've kind of referenced a couple times today. So proof of English proficiency is required if your native language is not English. So some of you may ask, like, what does native language mean? So this is the language that you grew up speaking at home with your parents, your family members, whoever you lived with growing up. So if that language is not English, then you would have to submit proof of English proficiency. Again, you do have to meet the requirement prior to registration. You can do that with a satisfactory transcript or test score. We'll review those momentarily. If you choose to go the test score route, make sure that you submit your official scores through your MyDCE account, or have those official score reports go to our Proficiency team. The email address for them is displayed on your screen. Same process with transcripts too. You can upload them or email if you're going that route. For our high school students, something that's important to note is your English proficiency is actually kind of built in to your application process. So if you do need to provide proof of English proficiency, you'll be prompted to do that as you're applying to those programs. So especially if you've already submitted an application, there's probably not much else you need to do in terms of English proficiency. But if you haven't started an application, or maybe it's incomplete right now, just keep that in mind, that that process kind of takes care of getting all the documents together for you. 2 important deadlines to keep in mind here. Monday, May 2nd is when we strongly suggest that all international students seeking an I-20 for their visa application submit their proof of English proficiency by, just to make sure that you have everything ready in time for the start of courses. And then Thursday, June 9th is our final deadline for all English proficiency documents to come in for the summer term. Here are the ways that you can meet the requirement. If you decide to submit an official transcript, there's a couple things you should keep in mind. Your transcript does need to show completion. That's an important word, not in progress, but completion of a 3 or 4 year high school diploma, a 3 or 4 year bachelor's degree, or a graduate degree from one of the countries that you see bolded on this slide, at which English is the sole language of instruction. Your transcripts also must include at least 1 year of study plus degree completion at one of the schools. If you decide to submit a test score, we offer some different options for you to look at. We accept the TOEFL. You'll see that the minimum score required is a 100. We also accept the IELTS with a minimum score of 7, the Pearson Test of English Academic with a minimum score of 70, and the Duolingo English Test with a minimum score of 125. Also, some important information to keep in mind. This first bullet point is probably going to be helpful no matter where you live, whether it's here in the United States or abroad. When you're looking at our course times in the course catalog, there isn't a time zone indicated next to the time. Harvard is located in the Eastern time zone in the United States, so that's what all of the course times reflect. So if you're taking a course that has like an online live meeting requirement, especially if you're living in another country, make sure that you accommodate for that time zone to make sure that you'll actually be able to log in live and participate for that course. Also, in terms of visas, Harvard Summer School sponsors F1 student visas for summer school students, as long as you are enrolling full-time for credit and courses offered on campus. We don't have enough time today to go through all of the specifics for this, but if you go to our summer school website and go to our course registration page, there is information there about international student registration, which includes all of the international student guidelines for the Form I-20. This information is very detailed. There's a really expansive FAQ section there. So it's going to be a great resource for all of you to check out who do need to do the Form I-20 for the summer term. I also want to note too, before I move on, that optional practical training, OPT, is unavailable through Harvard Summer School. And again, make sure you're reviewing your English proficiency requirements if English isn't your native language. All right, and we realized too that a lot of you probably have questions about COVID-19 and the impact that it's having on Harvard Summer School planning. So again, I do want to mention that we are offering on-campus courses along with online courses again this summer. So just know that the campus will be reopening, which is exciting, but we are still finalizing a lot of details for the summer right now. That includes the detailed housing information, immunizations, and what our testing and masking policies will be if you happen to be on campus. So we expect a lot of that information will start to roll out pretty soon. So we would encourage you to bookmark our COVID-19 updates and resources page. You'll see the link here. Again, this webinar will also be sent out to you. So if you need to go back to find this link, you can reference it through the recording. But we do highly encourage you to stay tuned to that page, because as soon as we know information about the summer, it gets posted there on the website for public viewing as well. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Despina to kind of get into the meat of our presentation, which is pre-registration and registration. Before I pass it over to Despina, I do just want to let you guys know that we see still some questions coming in through the Q&A. So our team is definitely working hard to get all of your answers to those questions. They may be flagging some as being answered live, which means we're getting to those shortly. But definitely keep submitting your questions. If we don't get to your question today, we'll definitely make sure to give you our contact information so that you can get in touch with us to ask those over the next few months. All right, so I'll turn it over to Despina to walk you through pre-registration and registration.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. In terms of course pre-registration, that is required to be completed by all students. You won't be able to register for any classes once registration opens if you haven't completed that step. And what we want to stress also is it doesn't involve registering for courses in any way. It's a process that by which students confirm that their personal information is still up to date in our systems, and it will be accessible from your MyDCE student account dashboard. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete, and it will be available to complete mid to late February. In terms of where you go on MyDCE to complete pre-registration, you'll see it. It will be a box to the left of the calendar with a pre-register now. You'll just click on that button and go through the screens, and it will appear underneath the announcement section on your MyDCE dashboard. Again, it doesn't involve registering for courses. It's simply the process by which students verify both their student and contact information prior to the start of registering for upcoming terms and courses. Now, in terms of the meat of our presentation here is course search and registration. And we're really excited about this because it is a new system. So for adult and college students, registration opens on Tuesday, March 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. For pre-college students, and that's admitted students only, it begins on Thursday, February 24th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And for secondary school program students like adult and college students, it begins on Tuesday, March 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for admitted students only. Now, in terms of the registering for courses, this is a step-by-step guide, and this is a nice resource to have once you have the webinar, or if you're viewing it on our YouTube page. I'm not actually going to go through the steps here because we have a visual guide. We'll walk you visually through the whole course registration process. Now, in terms of starting course registration, you're going to first log into MyDCE and click on the course registration button on your dashboard. And that's going to be right below where your profile picture is and your name is. It will say course registration. You'll click on that. And then you'll see it will take you to the search panel on the left-hand side, and it will default to Harvard Summer School. And you will have to choose right below it what catalog you wish to view. Is it the one for adult and college students, the one for secondary school students, the one for pre-college, or the one for Harvard College? Now, for adult and college students, you select that option if you're an adult or college age student looking to take general courses this summer. If you're coming to us from Harvard College, you should select this option if you're an admitted Harvard College undergraduate student. For the pre-college program, you should select that option if you've been admitted into the program. And similarly, for the secondary school program, you should select that option if you've been admitted into this program. And you can click the I icon for more information about each Harvard Summer School option. Now, after you've selected your catalog, what you want to do is search for your desired course by name or keyword. If you have like for example, in this example, it's Expo S-5, you can put that in the keyword search. Another thing that is also available here is that if you scroll down, you can also search by undergraduate or graduate certificates if you're a certificate student who's taking courses through the summer term, and also degree courses if you're a degree candidate and you're taking some of your degree requirements over the summer. Once you've selected the course, it will appear in the middle panel, and all you need to do is just click on the course itself, and it will open up an additional panel that has a wealth of information about your course. You know, the credit, how many credits you'll earn, what the maximum enrollment. If you see this particular course has a maximum enrollment of 15 students, so you know if you want to get into this class, you have to register as soon as possible. It will give you like the deadline dates and the instructor information, the description of the course format, and down below it will also list like any prerequisites if they're available or if they're necessary. Now, once you've selected your course, all you need to do is just hit OK to add it to your cart. And you'll see it will default to the primary cart. So you'll click OK there. And then you'll save the changes after selecting the tuition level. So for example, in this example, they're taking it at the undergraduate tuition level. You save your change. And then two very important steps are to submit the schedule and then to submit registration. Because if you don't complete those steps, you haven't fully registered for the course. And where you'll see the difference is if you notice on the submit schedule, you'll see a little like shopping cart next down below the course name that shows that you've selected that course and you've put it in your primary cart, but you haven't completed registration. When you submit registration on the next screen, when you look at the course again in your primary cart, you'll see actually a check mark to the left of the course, as you see above, and that will, if you hover over it, it will show that you're registered for that particular course. And you can also log into MyBCE after selecting your course, because you won't be able to pay for it here. So it's not going to prompt you for any type of payment. So you log into your MyBCE account and click on the financial services button to access the student finance portal for payments. And the financial services button is to the right of the course registration button. So it's very easy and accessible and easy to find on the student dashboard. So if you need to make changes to your registration, if you need to drop the course or change the tuition level, you can come back to the cart, click on the course, and it will open up another panel that will give you the option to make those changes. Now, things to keep in mind post-registration. You definitely want to make sure that you log into your MyBCE student portal, that you navigate down to the My Courses box on the lower left of the dashboard. It will show any active courses, like it will give you the name of the course, the registration status, the tuition level. And you definitely want to log in to make your tuition payments on time, because you won't be prompted for payment information or instructions at the end of course registration. So you definitely want to log into MyBCE and click on the financial services button on your dashboard to access the student finance portal for payments. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sean, who will give you some more information about financing your education.
Thank you so much, Jasmina. So I can't emphasize enough those last 2 points that Despina made. Those were the top 2 questions that our office probably received during the spring registration cycle, was how do I confirm my registration and how do I pay? So definitely make sure that you're going back in and getting very familiar with your MyDCE account. The course search and registration system that we used, that Despina just showed you, that is specifically that. It's for registration and searching the catalog purposes. For everything else, like confirming the schedule, making payments, accessing your class materials when the summer term starts, that's all within MyDCE. So we definitely want you to not only get familiar with our registration system, but make sure you're taking some time to explore MyDCE, see what all is there, especially if you're submitting English proficiency documentation, immunization forms, things like that. It's all built into MyDCE, so you will be using it pretty frequently throughout the summer term. So as Despina mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about financing your education. I do want to call out that student financial services is available within Harvard Summer School. So if you have any questions for them, you can reach them at the number and email address that you see on your screen. They'll be a great resource for you for questions, but we can also most likely answer questions for you here in Enrollment Services too. If we don't have the answer, we can help to connect you over to Student Financial Services. I want to use this section just to kind of break down what the costs are for Harvard Summer School so that you can keep these in mind based on your student type. So with our adult and college students, you have until June 16th to register for courses, but there are some distinctions to keep in mind. So if you register for any courses between May 1st and Monday, May 16th, which is the full payment deadline, or excuse me, March 1st through Monday, May 16th, then you will have to make sure that your balance is paid in full by May 16th, or you're going to be dropped from your courses due to non-payment. If for some reason you pay and register for courses after May 16th, that's still okay. We have course registration open with immediate payment through June 16th. Just keep those 2 words immediate payment in mind, because if you don't make that payment, you're going to be dropped from your courses again and have to re-register yourself. This is kind of a point of confusion sometimes with students keeping track of these different deadlines. So just make sure that you're reviewing our academic calendar, which we'll talk about shortly, to make sure that you fully understand how these payment and registration deadlines work. In terms of tuition, if you're taking a 4-credit course at Harvard Summer School, the course is $3,500, and our 8-credit courses are $7,000. You may notice that this is a slight uptick from the cost of Harvard Extension School. There's some important things to keep in mind here. The reason for the cost difference is twofold. One is because the courses are expedited. So we're kind of taking 15 weeks of courses and putting it into the 7-week and 3-week sessions. And the other reason for this is because while they fall under the same umbrella at Harvard, the Extension School and the Summer School are separate entities that have their own policies and procedures. So that's some of the reasoning for the cost difference there. It's important to note too that the course cost is the same no matter what credit status you register for at Harvard Summer School. So undergraduate and graduate credit, as well as non-credit, are all offered at the same cost, which is also a slight difference between the summer school and the extension school. In terms of fees, the bulk of fees come into play with Harvard Summer School if you're living on campus. You'll see that there are room and board charges that go along with that. And if you do not have appropriate health insurance coverage, there is a health insurance fee that's assessed on your tuition bill as well. A big question that we get, and we saw this come through with registration forms, is financial aid available at Harvard Summer School? The answer is no. Harvard Summer School does not offer financial aid or scholarships, but if you're visiting us from another institution, definitely have a conversation with the financial aid office at your home institution, especially if you have financial aid there. You can see if it's possible to transfer some of that aid over to us to use during the summer. So while we don't give out financial aid for summer, it is possible to transfer some in from other institutions. For our pre-college program, the full payment deadline for you is going to be Thursday, April 14th. But like our adult and college students, there is a period of time where you can still register for courses with immediate payment. This deadline varies though, based on your session. So for pre-college session 1, it's June 16th, June 30th for session 2, and July 14th for session 3. One question we get from our pre-college students a lot is, how do I know which session I'm in? All of that is going to depend on the course or courses that you register for. So if you are looking through the course catalog, definitely pay attention to that meeting times and information section and look at the dates that go along with that. There are some pre-college courses that are only offered during session 1. There may be others that are offered during sessions 1 and 3. So you want to make sure that you're signing up for the one that works best with any other plans that you have going on during the summer term. The program fee for the pre-college program is $4,950 per session, which includes your tuition, your room and board, and your mandatory activity costs. Again, note that this is per session. So if you plan to participate in more than one session of the pre-college program, if you're admitted, then you'd be paying that fee 1, 2, or 3 different times. There's a $75 non-refundable application fee, as well as a $100 health insurance fee that goes along with that as well. Financial aid is available for our pre-college program. You can actually find the pre-college financial aid application built in to the admissions application, which provides a convenience factor. So there will be some questions on the application that ask you if you're interested in financial aid. If you check yes, it will unlock the financial aid section so you can provide information there. Just keep in mind, though, that our regular application deadline and our financial aid deadline for pre-college are about to come up. Both of those are happening Wednesday, March 2nd by 12 p.m. Eastern time. So if you haven't submitted your application yet and you are interested in the program and interested in being considered for financial aid, mark Wednesday, March 2nd on your calendar for sure. With our secondary school program, the full payment deadline is in line with our adult and college student calendar, Monday, May 16th. And course registration, like for our adult and college students, will continue to be available through Thursday, June 16th with immediate payment. The secondary school program is longer, it's 7 weeks long, so with that comes a slightly higher cost than pre-college. So if you are planning to be on campus, which is considered residential, you will be paying $13,200 for the program, which includes your tuition for your 2 required courses and your room and board costs. If you're doing the online commuter option for the program, you'll be paying $3,500 for 4 credits or $7,000 for 8 credits. Like the pre-college program, there is a health insurance fee, and there's also a $75 non-refundable application fee. Similar to pre-college, there is financial aid available. It's built into the admissions application for the secondary school program. That deadline is also coming up to apply for regular admission and also for financial aid consideration. So if you are looking at the secondary school program, mark March 2nd on your calendar, because that's a deadline you definitely want to keep in mind pretty soon. So Despina alluded to this earlier, but I just want to walk through again how you pay your tuition bill, because this was a very big question that we got during the spring cycle. So when you're finished registering for courses, you may remember that Despina said there's no prompt that is going to come up with your tuition total or how to pay. So what you'll need to do is get out of the registration and course search system and log back into your MyDCE account. You'll go from the dashboard to the financial services button, which you'll see right next to the course registration button. Click on that, and that's going to redirect you into your student financial portal. In that portal, you can set up a payment profile. So you can choose to set up an e-check option, or you can choose to set up a credit card option to pay your tuition with. And when you're ready to make your payment, you'll go back to the home screen in your portal, click Make Payment from the main page, and you can select the payment profile that you set up to pay with. The payment profile feature is nice because if you have more than one person who's going to help pay your tuition, you can set up multiple payment profiles so that those individuals can make those payments on your behalf. If you are working for a company, maybe the organization you work for is going to pay for your summer school classes, that would be considered a third-party payment. Definitely get in touch with our Student Financial Services office early on in the registration cycle, just to make sure that everything is set up correctly for that third-party payment to process. In terms of refunds, if you're owed a refund for any reason, just know that those are processed on an ongoing basis as students drop courses or as you're making course credit changes. The timing is based on the type of credit balance on your account and the date of the credit balance. So say, for example, you register for 2 classes and you decide to drop one of those, but you've already paid in full for it. After you drop that course, that refund process is going to start working behind the scenes automatically. So you don't need to really reach out to our office to do anything extra. But if you do have questions about refunds, maybe you're curious about the timing or when you might be receiving it, you can always reach out to our Student Financial Services office and they can give you an update on what that looks like. There's also as I mentioned, academic calendar setup, which Despina is about to talk about in just a second. We can't emphasize the importance of reviewing these enough. There's academic calendars out there for every student type that we've talked about today. And so we really want everyone after today's webinar to take some time to go through the calendar that applies to them and start making note of those important dates and deadlines. And if anything is confusing to you on the calendar, please make sure to reach out to us in advance. We see, unfortunately, a lot of terms that a lot of students miss deadlines or misinterpret a deadline, and that can lead to some disappointment and just academic plans not happening like you had envisioned. And we definitely want to prevent that from happening. With the summer registration cycle being 2.5 months, there's so much time to get in touch with our office to make sure that everything is going well for you, make sure that everything's good, so that you can have a smooth transition into the summer term. So I'm going to pass things back over to Despina so she can highlight some of the academic calendars that are out there on our website.
Thank you, Sean. And now for important dates and deadlines. If you're an adult college student, you definitely want to review the Adult College Students calendar. For the pre-college program students, you definitely want to review the pre-college calendar. And for the secondary school program students, you definitely want to review closely the secondary school program calendar. Every student is responsible for viewing their respective calendar and for noting all the important dates. And I can't emphasize how important it is to, put these dates in a planner or a reminder on your phone or on your laptop, so there's no question as to when things are due, because these dates are firm. They're not flexible. If you miss these deadlines, there will be consequences. So if there's one thing that I would tell you first, after setting up your MyDCE account, definitely take a close look at each of the calendars that are applicable to you. And now I'll turn it over to Sean to talk about some frequently asked questions and also some additional resources available here at Harvard Summer School.
All right, so to wrap us up today, we've pulled a couple of frequently asked questions that you asked us in your registration forms for the webinar. These are all questions that we really haven't covered so far, so we wanted to make sure that we hit on these before we wrap up. And then after we go through these questions, I'm going to provide you with our contact information so you know exactly how to reach out to us during the registration cycle. So the first question that came in a lot was, do you earn a certificate at the end of the summer for course or program completion? So the answer to this is no. Harvard Summer School doesn't award certificates for the completion of 1 or 2 courses. However, if you do need proof of course completion, you can always request a transcript. We have e-transcripts available through Parchment. We still have the traditional paper transcripts if you prefer to go that route. But that is going to show you a breakdown of the courses you've taken, what grade you got as a final grade, and the credit status that you took the course for. So just know that that is available for you. There's a $3 fee that's associated with the e-transcripts, which is definitely a lot lower than what you might find at other schools. So hopefully that's a somewhat affordable option there if you need that transcript to go elsewhere. Students who complete our pre-college program are also provided with an evaluation from their instructor that comes along with your transcript. So we find that that's really valuable to those students because it is an evaluation that's written by a Harvard instructor. And so we find that that's great to attach to a college application just to provide the people reviewing your application with some more insight into your academic interests and abilities. The second question that came in a lot was, is the content and rigor of courses similar to Harvard College's courses? For those of you who aren't aware, Harvard College is the branch of Harvard University that focuses on our traditional age student population. So students who come in right after high school and stay with us for those 4 years after. All of our Harvard College students actually come to Harvard Summer School to get credit to transfer back to their degree programs on campus. And we have a mix of Harvard instructors and industry experts who teach all of the summer term courses. For our pre-college program, all of your courses are actually taught by Harvard instructors. So having said all of that, you can definitely expect, because we have so many Harvard professors on Harvard Summer School faculty, that the content and the rigor is going to be very close to what you'd find within a Harvard College course. The next big question we got, because we haven't been able to have students on campus in a while, is housing available on campus during the summer term? And if so, when will more information be provided about this? If you are admitted into our pre-college program, you're automatically assigned housing, so there's no application that you need to do separate for that. The pre-college program is a 100% on-campus program, so that's why we have that set up that way. For the secondary school program, we are currently working to see if we can automatically assign housing to our residential SSP students, so stay tuned for more information about that. If not, then you would have to go through a possible application process. And if you're an adult and college student, there is a housing application that you will need to complete to be considered for on-campus housing. That application will be accessible through your MyDCE account starting on March 1st. We are still waiting to get more detailed information about the application and what all that's going to entail. So again, make sure to bookmark the COVID-19 resources and updates page I mentioned earlier. As soon as we know all the details about housing, which should be coming out by the end of this month, that will all be out on the website for public viewing. And lastly, I can see that summer courses have been posted in the course catalog, but why can't I add them to my cart right now? So while students can go ahead and just peruse the course catalog and see what's there, the reason you can't add them to your cart right now is because the cart feature hasn't been turned on yet. Most likely that's not going to happen until the 3rd or 4th week of this month. So for now, definitely just take some time to research, see what classes you're interested in, and then eventually you will be able to start adding courses to your cart in advance of registration opening. And like Despina mentioned a couple of times, we'll be turning on the pre-registration process shortly too. So give it another week or two, and then you should be able to start diving into those things on your to-do list to get ready for registration day. All right, finally, I want to provide you with our contact information for the Office of Enrollment Services. So we are available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Something to note, though, especially if you're in the area, our offices are currently closed to the general public until further notice. We hope to have them open again by the start of the summer term or shortly before. But for now, definitely make sure that you're either calling or emailing us to get in contact with us. We have separate email addresses for each of our student types. So if you're an SSP student, a pre-college student, or an adult and college student, you'll see the email address displayed on your screen to reach out to us with questions. Our normal email response time is about 2 to 3 business days. So our team is usually pretty quick in responding back to any questions that come through over email. And we also offer virtual office hours every Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'd love to see some of you attend these if we can help you out with anything that's course registration related. Feel free to email our summer email account on your screen for more information and to receive the Zoom link for these sessions. As part of these sessions, you'll get 15 minutes to spend with our staff members who are facilitating, and you'll be able to ask really any questions that you have about the course catalog, registration, and things of that nature like we've discussed during the webinar today. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's webinar, and it looks like we're actually pretty close to 2 p.m. So I want to thank you all for attending the webinar today. I know it's a lot of information to take in a very short period of time, but we did record this webinar, so shortly we are going to be sending it off to be closed captioned. After that process is complete, which should be by the end of this week, we will email out a copy of the recording to all of you to the email address that you registered with. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't see it come through, definitely check your spam or junk folders just in case. And then if you have friends or colleagues who missed the webinar and you want to have them view the recording, definitely direct them over to the Harvard Summer School YouTube page. The recording will be posted there sometime late this week or early next week for viewing as well. So again, thank you so much for spending some of your afternoon with us here from Enrollment Services and Enrollment Requirements. We are really excited to have seen so many of you join today. We hope this was helpful, and we really hope to see some of you either on campus or online for the summer term this year. So thank you again, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for joining today. Have a great afternoon.